What's up, DJs? Welcome to lesson number 6 of the DJ LiftOFF Scratch course. Now that we've gotten through all of the scratch techniques that we're going to go over in this particular scratch course, it's now time to create our own scratch patterns. One thing that you always want to remember when you're scratching is that you always want to be intentional and understand exactly what you're doing. That's going to be the goal of this lesson as we create these scratch patterns using the scratch techniques that we've already gone over. So essentially, we're going to be creating 1-bar scratch patterns, and those are going to be worth 4 beats. 1 bar is 4 beats. In lesson number 1, I also provided you all with a music theory course that I have on YouTube. So make sure you check that out so you're able to follow along with this video. We're going to be doing beats as 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to count that way. And we're also going to be counting the ands, which are going to be the off beats of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Before we actually hop into creating the scratch patterns, I first want to talk about which sounds are going to be best using which techniques. So we're going to split this up into short sounds and medium to long sounds. So your short sounds are going to be your kicks, your snares, your snaps, your claps, anything that's just a really short sound. The scratches that we're going to be using with the short sounds are going to be the baby scratch, the scribble scratch, as well as the chirp scratch. Now, some kicks like this one I have pulled up, you can do a 1-click flare orbit. However, we're going to talk about why 1-click flare orbits are best done with other types of sounds. So first, I have a kick here. Let's go over each scratch type that I just listed. So we have our baby scratch, our chirp, as well as our scribble. Same thing with the clap, baby. Then we have our chirp, and we also have our scribble. Those 3 techniques are best for short sounds because it doesn't require a long sample to be used. And to explain that, essentially, we're going to go over here to our left deck, and we're going to hear this Serato scratch sample right here. So you see how that's a little bit longer. If you're going to be doing a 1-click flare orbit, which is this, as you can see, we're going you need a longer sound to make that sound good. Now, like I said, you could do it technically with a longer kind of kick sample right here. But as you can see right there, it just doesn't sound as long and as clean as when we're using a longer sample. Now, on top of the medium to long sounds, so as we switch over to that, not only can we still do the baby scratch, the chirp scratch, as well as the scribble scratch, we can also add on the 1-click flare orbit, as well as drops and then pullbacks. That's going to be a drop with a pullback. We also can do a drop and pullback slow. And then we also can do a drop and then a cut. To do that cut, we're just dropping, closing the crossfader, and then pulling that platter back. Just like such. Now, as you can see, with that longer sample, we have a lot more breathing room and a lot more sound to actually complete those longer scratch techniques. In part 2 of this particular lesson, we'll go over the rest of the scratch techniques and which sounds are going to be best applicable for those particular techniques. However, in part 1, we're just going to keep it pretty simplified, and we're just going to break down how to create a scratch pattern using some of the more fundamental scratch techniques. Each scratch pattern that we're going to create within this lesson is going to be 1 bar, which also means that's going to be 4 beats. Again, make sure you watch the music theory lesson so you understand what beats and bars are, and that you can follow along with counting like 1, 2, 3, 4, as well as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now let's go ahead and actually create some scratch patterns. So first, if you go ahead and take a look at the screen, which I'll also have this sheet available for download, you can first see all of the values that each particular scratch is going to represent. Again, we're just creating a 1-bar scratch pattern, so we need to have these values equal up to 4 beats. So if you look, we have the baby scratch, that's going to be 1 beat. So 4 baby scratches is going to be 4 beats, which is going to be 1 bar. So essentially, if we counted that out, we would have 1, 2, 3, 4. Always make sure that you're dropping the track after those 4 beats just to simulate a real scratch performance. And it's really going to help when we bring in the instrumental to make sure you're practicing dropping on the 1. So after that baby scratch, if you keep looking, you see the scribble scratches on there as well as the chirp scratch. Both of those are 1 beat as well. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, as well as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So that's what we have for all of those. So now if we keep looking below that, we have some drops and we have the 1-click flare orbit. So first, if you look at that drop, essentially that's going to be 2 beats. So essentially all we're going to do is we're going to let the platter go and it's going to be 1, 2. Okay? 1, 2. So if we did 2 baby scratches and then we did a drop with the pullback, as you can see, that's going to equal 4 beats. So we would have this 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. Okay. So essentially we can also do a drop cut, which is going to look like this. So as you can see, that's also going to be 2 beats. So we have 1, 2. The pullback is going to be the 2. The drop is going to be the 1. 1, cut, 2, and then pull back. So if we have 4 of those, or actually if we had 2 of those, that would represent a full pattern. So we would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, just like that. We also have the 1-click flare orbit. That's going to be 2 beats, which is going to look and sound like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, just like that. Again, 1, 2. So if we were to do 2 of those, that would be the full scratch pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, just like that. And then lastly, we have this half chirp, which is going to sound extremely similar, or basically is a stab. All we're going to do is we're going to push forward on the platter. We're going to do the first part of a chirp. Then we're going to pull that platter back. Essentially, that's going to be 1 beat as well. So if we did that 4 times, it would be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Just like that. So again, remember, all we're trying to do is use these different scratch techniques, and we're trying to get it to equal up to 4 beats, which is going to be 1 bar. So now I'm going to go ahead and do a few of these, and I want you to listen and then pause the video and then tell me which scratch techniques I was doing. Okay. After listening to those 1 bar scratch patterns, if you're not able to pick up on the scratch techniques or the values right away, definitely make sure that you just hit pause and re-listen to it until you understand why those are 4 beats and how those are 4 beats, and make sure that you understand all of the scratch techniques being used to create that 1 bar scratch pattern. Okay. Now, if you continue with the video, I'll replay that exact portion, but I'll actually go ahead and list all of the scratch techniques along with the values below so you understand everything.
you're the one I know. Don't stress, let it go. Loco, undress, so lose control. Loco, tell you all I wanna